In this episode, we discuss the only film where Harvey Keitel plays the father of a middle-aged Korean man, The Last Godfather. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
My name is Elliot Kalin.
And I'm the house cat.
No, that's not true.
Is that
100% not true?
What is that? Is that? I just thought I was filling in. So.
No. Well, you're filling in as yourself.
Oh, okay. And I'm Al Madrigal.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Stuart's not here, but you know him from the world of comedy.
And television.
You know him from the world of TV and movies.
And insurance commercials.
You know him from the world of podcasts.
And stand-up.
And now you know him from the world of comedy, movie, podcasts. Mr. Al Madrigal.
This one in particular.
Hey.
Al Madrigal.
Hi, guys.
Thank you for joining us. You're filling in for Stuart Wellington, the usual third musketeer, the Athos to Dan's Porthos.
Okay.
And today you're our Aramis.
And I feel like I didn't think when we were talking about this whole. Was it the what is he? He's the house cat, or
Yeah,
is it
well, there is a house cat. There's a the
There's a
Flophouse.
free-floating entity,
Flophouse.
sort of a
The
trickster
Flophouse has
spirit.
Flophouse house cat?
Yeah, the Native Americans refer to him as Coyote.
Yeah.
He's kind of a party dude who's a cat. He chimes in every now and
He's
then.
the original party animal,
Yeah,
other than the other pary animals that preceded him.
yeah.
I just really thought I would be able to chime in every now and then.
No,
with
well,
the-
we want you to
no.
talk
I
as
want you
as
to talk
you.
as a
Yeah,
human
we appreciate-
being with feelings and opinions about things.
and words that are not just meow sounds like that.
Oh, God.
It's a great house cat.
pretty
You
good.
are enraging the fans right now.
The fans are so mad.
I think the
They're
fans
up in
will
arms.
demand that I come back, and Stuart will no longer be involved with the
Oh,
podcast.
Wow.
man, you.
you are thrown down the gauntlet, the floplet.
But was Stuart ever in a bad movie? Did he?
No.
Oh, that's true.
No, he wasn't.
Al was regaling us on our subway ride here.
Come on, the glamour on our limo ride here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
With tales of,
Getting a call the day before shooting, and
What was the movie you were in? It was with Christian Slater.
Lies and Illusions with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Christian Slater.
Wow, in that order.
Oscar winner.
Actually, I think Christian Slater got top billing.
Oscar winner Christian Slater
Yep.
and Pulitzer Prize winner Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yeah.
Or is it Cuba Gooding Jr.?
Cuba.
Cuba?
I believe he prefers Cuba.
Okay. Like
Where
scuba.
I was also, and the wardrobe, every bit of wardrobe in that movie is item that Christian Slater refused to wear. And I was, and
I like to think that it's like a tutu, butterfly wings, pajamas. It's like he refused with good reason.
ill-fitting dress shirts, maybe like a pastel mint green. No one would ever. And then
Madras
some-
shorts. This doesn't make
Yeah,
sense. This is in Alaska. I don't get it, guys.
Not too far off. We were in Spokane, Washington, filming. That's where all the best movies are filmed.
Oh yeah, because it looks like everywhere.
Yeah. And
Spokane is doubles for a lot of places.
we also they sent me the script in final draft and said, "Go for it." I think it's those words.
Go
Like,
for it, like rewrite it.
please.
Like, we are fresh out of ideas. We're just going to farm this out to all of you. We're going to crowdsource this.
I like to think of Christian Slater now, like hunched over the computer, like, all right, what do we do with this? Okay, Act 3 problems. Let's fix it.
I guarantee you that he did not look at the script until day of.
Do you think he knew he was in a movie, or was it like Bowfinger?
Now, he knew very well what he was doing because he pulled me aside and said, "Al, this is let me tell you what we're doing here. This is a cash grab. The old CG, all right? We're going to do this and pretend it never happened."
Grizzled veteran Christian Slater.
As if this was a crime you were committing somewhere.
Sure. No, and really did. I saw him look at his sides at some point and go, "All right, let's do it.
I love that attitude.
Yeah. All right, this is what you guys want to do. Let's go for it.
I am 100% more forgiving of like the last 10 years in Christian Slater's career now that I've heard this
And
story.
at some
15
point, I think
years,
I was
20
also
years.
looking at my sides and like, I was going
To make
do
sure
my
they were
lines.
splitting from all the hilarity.
Gonna do my lines, and he looked at me like, just what? Don't worry about that. And we were
This isn't really one of those knowing your lines kind of movies.
No, it is an improvised movie. That's it. And
It's called Lies and Illusions.
Lies and Illusions. and
Not Clive Barker's Lord of Illusions.
No. And Tibor, the guy who directed, you said Mansquito. He also.
You had mentioned that he directed a movie called
I
Mansquito,
believe
which
so.
I've seen some of.
I've got to.
Or you said it was some kind of man
Is that
mosquito
a
movie.
sci-fi original?
I saw it on Sci-Fi.
Mansquito?
I think it might be a Sci-Fi original.
No, I think that
Was that a theatrical
the
release?
Mansquito people.
Well, Mansquito fans, write in and correct us. All you skeet heads. Ooh, that sounds bad.
I mean, like Mansquito then, of course, had the Vertigo comic series based off of that movie, and then there were a lot of ancillary properties.
Where are you going with this?
There was the Mansquito radio show. There was
Mansquito and the Mad Dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I
That
cannot
sports
believe
show.
I pulled up. Yeah, Tibor Takacs is the name of the
So
director.
Italian.
Yes, Hungarian, close. And
I was in the right continent.
yeah. And yeah, Mansquito, I believe. Let's see, Lies and Illusions.
Some kind of untitled Tibor Fall Project.
There he is. The Gate.
Oh, The Gate.
He made
was
The
that-
Gate?
Was that with Johnny Depp? No.
No, it's the Gate. The Gate's the one where they play the.
1986.
I'm thinking of The Ninth Gate, I think.
The Gate's the Canadian movie where they play the heavy metal record backwards and they open up a gate to hell.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Wow.
How come hell always has gates? You'd think they'd have moved past that. Just a door, nice door. Or
What,
like
just
a
a nice door with all of history's greatest criminals down there?
I mean, a really big door.
No.
Like a big steel door.
You gotta have a gate, a reinforced gate.
A gate says to me, if you're a skinny enough villain, you can slip
you need
through
a
it.
gate. You need a portcullis, maybe some sort of.
See, I'm thinking
Yeah.
more like a fence.
Here's
like,
something you don't see often.
Hitler
In
could slip right through that.
1996, he directed one episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which is hard to do. Just one. Not having him
We are
back.
not having.
He
Melissa
said- no.
Joan Hart is like
What did he do?
never again.
Tibor said everything he needed to say with the character in that one episode. Why make a sequel? It's unnecessary.
A lot of two Red Shoe Diaries. You got two of them.
Now, this has nothing to do with the movie we watched tonight, though.
No.
This is the movie you made. So, and
Correct.
working with Tibor was okay? Or
The guy was willing to send me the entire script in final draft. Yes, it was awesome. Mega Snake. Just saying,
So I assume that's either a really big snake or a snake lottery of some
he did
kind.
Ice Spiders. He also did
Ice spiders?
Mansquito, the Black Hole.
Now, what's the relationship between ice spiders and ice pirates?
I assume one rides the other, but which rides which, I don't know.
My Babysitter's a Vampire, and then recently he's done Spiders 3D.
Okay.
So he's working.
I mean, all spiders are 3D. So that's
That's
your,
my rant.
those
So
are your bad movie
that's why
credentials.
I think I'm a little bit more qualified than Stewart.
Wow. Wow. Stuart better hope that he makes
Yeah.
a bad movie while he's on his vacation. Because you're making a pretty strong argument.
So, and then why is Stewart in Puerto Rico? I don't understand.
Well, he's just on vacation.
Oh, okay.
It's
5
where-
months after being in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I mean, they were just there less than a half year ago to get married, but
They made a pledge to go back every 5 months.
no matter what's going on in their
hey,
life, they
guys.
just drop it.
Hey guys, let's make a pledge. If we're still married, let's meet back here in 5 months.
Because they're not going to see each other.
Well, they're busy.
If we're still married, we'll meet back here.
It's a modern career man and career woman. They got to make time for each other. You know how it is. It's hard.
That's true. It is hard when you got two working people in a relationship.
So now this, The Last Godfather that we saw.
Oh yeah, that's the movie we saw tonight.
That's the movie we saw tonight. I was working on.
Well, this- we should-
can I
we
give you
should
the
just wait.
background.
Yeah, well, the movie we saw tonight was called The Last Godfather, and this is a movie you brought to us.
I
Yeah.
found in Ellijay, Georgia, at a sort of rest stop, gas station, grocery store. I was doing my first field piece for the Daily Show, and we pulled over. and shot some bad scene that was never used in the field piece. I was interviewing the #1 Mitt Romney fan, and we found
that
this
was
one
a funny
guy.
piece.
Yeah,
He was very enthusiastic.
Joe
guy.
McCutcheon. If you want to go back at thedailyshow.com and look this up, this great character that I think we're going to meet up with him at the convention.
That would be awesome.
He is the nicest man. He's actually since then butt called us while he was taking a dump. To thank us again. Calls.
Wait, how do you? I can understand butt calling someone when your like pants are fully up, but when they're down, it seems like
He
it's
must
harder
have
to
dropped it. I'm sure he dropped it.
drop
Called.
with such force.
Yes,
that it hit the dial.
He needed to go.
Yeah.
He propelled those pants away from him.
Sweet man. But we found him in Ellijay, Georgia. When we're shooting some sort of background stuff, I came across a movie rack, and thinking that remembering that you guys did this podcast, I was going through it. Now I found The Last Godfather that I'd heard about, and I'll tell you the backstory on it. But I found different versions. I found a $3, a $4 version, and a $5.
So the same movie in 3 different editions.
Yeah.
Correct.
When there was
Price to move.
with a $1 difference per disc. And so the question I have is, are they thinking someone's going to see the $5 and be like, that's a little much, and then see the $3 and that suddenly seems like a bargain to
But
them?
this one
Or-
is just right.
Or do they see the $3 and they're like, well, I don't want to seem like a cheapskate.
yeah,
I guess I'll
what's
get
this
the
guy gonna think of
$4.
me?
The clerk knows me. I come in here all the time to buy my
Yeah.
groceries.
Sure.
And I don't want him to think I'm a cheapskate. I don't want to get the $3. I might as well get the $4, but at that point, it's just a dollar
Yeah,
difference.
I'm screwing around with this dollar.
Let me just move up to the $5
Make sure
edition.
no scratches. I know, or he knows how they come. Like,
Yeah,
look,
that's-
$3 means barely watchable. Okay, for the $2 extra, you get a nice clean film.
and or maybe the $3 movie at 40 minutes in, it just cuts off.
Yeah.
And then the text just comes up on screen for more. Put in $1.
Well, we're recording this on May Day, and I can only assume that the $3 version is for your Occupy Wall Street types, and that the $5 version is for the 1%. That's their version of The Last Godfather.
That is the income inequality gap right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is $2.
So bought the high end version and
we appreciate it, yeah.
delivered
It drove
this
like
to
a
you
dream.
guys. Yeah.
Crystal clear, picture and sound.
Yeah.
Really the
Amazing.
way the movie was meant to be seen, which is ironic since the movie was not meant to be seen.
No.
Really was, but with some name actors in the movie.
This is a movie that we should say this is a film written, directed, and starring by a man named Hyung Rae Shim, who is one of the top comedy stars and science fiction stars in South Korea. He actually was the star of a long-running children's science fiction film series in the 80s. There's like at least 8 installments of it. And he directed a previous Flophouse entry, D-Wars, Dragon Wars.
Yeah, D-Wars : Dragon Wars.
Or either that or it was Dragon Wars : D Wars. I can't
Yeah.
remember which. But he directed that. And so he is a big wheel in the South Korean film industry.
so big that he tried to make this Last Godfather his foray into the American market.
Crossover hit.
Sure.
This is a movie that in Korea is called The Dumb Mafia. So we'll
More
get it.
accurate title.
But who are some of the big name stars that he has in this? Some surprisingly big name stars.
Harvey Keitel.
Harvey the Kite Keitel.
And as Christian Slater would put it, doing a little cash grab action.
And
Right.
you can tell that his heart is not exactly in this role. He has a crying scene that is
Yeah, he sort of shakes his shoulders a couple times.
but
Indicates.
also Coen Brothers favorite John Polito, Kevin Smith favorite Jason Mewes is
Yeah.
in this. What's her name from was it House of the Devil?
The lead actress from House of the Devil is the romantic lead in this.
And when we tell you a little about the movie, you'll be surprised there's a romantic lead in this film.
And John Panette, a very funny
Yeah.
Canadian comedian, playing
Is that the large gentleman?
Yes.
I've seen
He's in
him
a lot of
around in a
stuff.
lot of
He's in a lot of things.
a classic bit. You go now at the Chinese buffet. Do you know? Nobody?
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's great. That's his.
Oh yeah, I think that from the days of Comedy Central when it was just clips of stand up, I remember that. I was racking my brain. I looked at the IMDb and I was like, I recognize
seen him do
this
stand
guy
up on TV, but
I don't know what I've seen him from. And now
He had some classic bits. It's when Comedy Central was giving out those half-hour comedy specials in 1992, 93 that made like Gabriel Iglesias and Mitch Hedberg and Nick Swardson sort of famous.
Mm-hmm.
John Panette had one as well, and his bits that everyone just him at the Chinese buffet eating everything, and then you go now, you go now,
yeah.
and then Hervé
remember
Villechaize as the Batman.
Wait, what?
I remember that one.
Yeah. I am the Batman. That's what those are his two bits. I'm not.
Well, here he's just kind of playing a fat bumbling gangster.
Yeah. He did a great job.
He didn't do it, but so so as we said, Young Ray Shim stars, writes, directs. It's a tour de force. He's a real auteur in the world of the Last Godfather. I keep wanting to call it The Last Gangster, which is an Edward G. Robinson movie from the 40s. Totally different movie.
Yeah.
In that there's about 100% less Korean man-child romance in that. And so The Last Godfather, should I just mention the plot very quickly?
Yeah, you should just run through it quick.
Harvey Keitel is a gangster. We're introduced to the fact that we're in the past in New York by some film footage of the old Lower East Side, literally stock footage in black and white. I thought it was the 30s. Then about 30 minutes into the movie, someone's watching a television. So I was like, oh, I guess this is the 50s. That's a little different. But Harvey Keitel is an aging mobster. He's tired of being the head of the family, and his right-hand man assumes that he's going to become, his right-hand man, Tony, assumes he's going to be named as the next boss. But it turns out Harvey Keitel has a son, and he wants his son to be the boss.
Son no one knew about. Yeah.
Nobody, except, I guess, Harvey Keitel, who just stuck him in an orphanage for a number of years.
To protect him, I think.
Oh, yeah, protect him from his enemies. That's right.
Sure.
When he was on the run,
It's like Spider-Man, it's too much responsibility. The villains are gonna always strike out at the ones that he loves the most.
Yeah, that's why he's the masked mobster.
Yeah.
So it turns out years ago, when he was a young man, he was on the run from a mob war and went to Korea, and there fell in love and had a son with a Korean woman. Now it's time for that Korean son to come back and take over the family. Thus enters our hero, who is kind of like, how do you describe? He's like if Harpo Marx was really like not charismatic, or like if Forrest Gump was about 10 times dumber.
Harpo Marx were like 20 years older and Korean, and maybe like not just like an imp, but mentally deficient in some way.
He seems like he is, pardon the word, retarded.
Sort of like a Roberto Benigni as Pinocchio kind of character.
And he is bad at everything. He doesn't really understand English, but he says it. He'll repeat English phrases. He's just like your classic, like clumsy innocent. But to the point where, and he is too old to be playing this type of character.
We saw on his IMDb that he was born in 1958, playing Harvey Keitel's son, who was born in 1939. Young Ray Shim clearly lies on his IMDb page because
he
look approximately the same age.
They really do.
Yeah. If anything, it looks like Harvey Keitel is his son, but maybe that's overstating it. But he is, and he's just like this. It seems like it is a guy who, one of these, like someone who should be in a home, in a place where he has a nurse watching him at all times.
We can't harm himself.
Yeah,
sure, but this character Young-gu that he plays,
the character's name is Young-gu, and this is a character he's played in many movies. Apparently,
that's right.
Like this is a character that he does. It's like his Mr. Bean, I guess, or like his
Little Tramp.
His Little Tramp. He's in different adventures, and one of the movies that you mentioned on his IMDb page is Young-gu meets Count Dracula,
yes.
which I want to see so badly now. Because this is a comedy, but it's a comedy that at times you're watching it and you're like, is this a prank? Like, is this? It feels like this is when Tim and Eric's movie should have been this, like this bizarre gangster comedy that stars this person who cannot speak English that well in the movie, at least, and is playing this really mentally challenged character for laughs. And Harvey Keitel has to take it seriously within the world of the movie.
Sure, and then so here he is right away when Harvey Keitel explains this, and then he says, here he is now, and this cab drops. The nun, and we end up seeing later, the whole thing, the premise is that this orphanage in Korea is relocating.
To the United States.
Which never happened. They have no money. These orphans.
Just move the whole thing. Like, I guess it was built on an ancient Indian burial ground before, so they got to move the orphanage.
The nun's got a really great business offer in New York. We got to move the orphans. Look, we got to take advantage of this.
Tax break for orphanages in New York now.
So Young-gu gets dropped off and says here, and then to thank the nun, Harvey Keitel presents her with a fur coat and a bottle of Chianti.
Because he's Italian.
Yes.
And Young-gu is overjoyed to see his father. The other mobsters are like, this is kind of weird. Cut to the next scene is they're all eating together, and Young-gu is just tearing through watermelon like crazy. And everything he does is so physically exaggerated to the point where it looks like he's in pain when he's doing comedy. But anyway, to make a long story short, there's another family, the arch nemesis family, headed by John Polito, and Jason Mewes is his right-hand man, I guess, but he's kind of a bad guy.
It's a remake of Miller's Crossing is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
Two warring mafia families, one of them headed by John Polito.
And John Polito's daughter is an innocent. She works with the orphans at the orphanage, even though the orphanage just moved there. And long story short, they try to make Young-gu into a mobster. At first, it looks like he's not going to be able to do it. He's a big embarrassment. He can't fight. He can't do anything correctly. At one point, he's in a park, and there's a push cart where someone's selling lingerie, and he just starts putting women's bloomers on. It doesn't make any sense why he's doing these things. But then, so he decides... They try to teach him how to run a protection racket. They try to teach him how to torture a guy. They try to teach him, like, this is, by the way, this is the hero of the movie, the childlike innocent. And the movie is supposed to make you, like, wish, like, oh, Young-gu, you got to learn how to be a mobster. Come on.
Shoot the guy, Young-gu. I mean, come on.
It's not like these are good mobsters or something like that. Like, they have a protection racket. He's supposed to shoot a guy at one point. But things aren't working out. Even though he really takes well to torturing someone with ice.
Yeah, I don't think so. They cut the scene leading up to that, and they must have, because all of a sudden, inexplicably, Young-gu and John Panette are just sliding a guy back and forth on the large block of
While
ice.
singing Christmas carols.
Yeah. And Young-gu shoveling ice cubes into his underpants. And
into the guy's underpants.
It seemed effective, but it seemed like an effective method of torture.
Yeah, he did not like it. That's who would.
Young-gu has a flair for sadism. Yeah,
flair for pain.
Yep.
He's like a child. But Young-gu falls in love with the daughter of the opposite guy. Things are not looking good for him. It looks like he's not cut out for this mob life. Then he snaps. And he just walks through town, walking into businesses and saying, you give me money.
I'm mafia.
And then fixing their businesses. He tortures a woman with hairspray to the point that she suddenly has a beehive hairdo that she loves. He goes into a dress store and tears the woman's dress so that it becomes a miniskirt. The woman loves it. He walks into a hamburger shop, like a diner, where we see a customer take one bite out of a hamburger and then put it down and walk out.
Yeah, and by the way, and there's also like a pile of hamburgers off to the side. This happens with every customer.
And Young-gu walks in and, to make his point, slams a hamburger patty down, slams a second patty on it, then adds, lettuce, pickles, whatever,
special sauce,
sesame seed bun. He's invented the Big Mac. Yeah. So in this is the most brilliant section of the movie where Young-gu, in his anger and attempt to become a mafia man, invents the beehive hairdo, the miniskirt, and the Big Mac.
Young-gu is the father of the modern age,
and he has made everyone so happy and the neighborhood is so economically
and
revitalized.
He made us happy. I think at that point we really did start like
turned around.
We really fell under the spell of the film at that point. By the point we realized that this movie makes no sense. And we're just supposed to accept that Young-gu is a bad guy who causes good things to happen through evil. Anyway, so the neighborhood is economically revitalized to the point that Young-gu is a hero. when he and his father walk through town, people just press things into their hands: food, wine, just
Bananas.
marinara
At
sauce.
one point, there's just a woman waiting for him. An extra is standing. He's down the block. There's an extra already out, set with marinara sauce, just ready to hand him.
It's good. It's well directed.
Yes.
Is what you're saying. Everything's natural.
Young Ray Shim.
Auteur.
Korea's master.
Let's just call him Korea's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
It's all we know. It's true. After that, there's a lot of gangster double crossing.
Jason Mewes.
Jason Mewes wants to sell out his boss. He tries to make a deal with the lieutenant, with Harvey Keitel's lieutenant, who you think might take him up on it. He thought he was going to get this big job, and now he's been passed over in favor of, let's face it, a retarded guy. And then he says no. He has loyalty, and young Gu saves him, rescues him from being kidnapped. Everyone's friends. Young Gu has a fantastic day out with John Polito's daughter. That what do? They just kind of wander around.
Montage stuff.
Ice cream.
Hang out.
He goes to remove a bee that's on her shoulder in a way that makes it look like they're having sex.
You wouldn't kill a fly, and it turns out it was a bee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end, she said, "Oh, you really wouldn't kill a fly? Like then that was a fly." So they end up. It looks like
So that was the big problem with the movie.
Yeah.
She said fly,
The
but it was a
script
bee.
girl should have been fired
Clearly
for
a
that
bee.
one.
This was an
Ladies
A+
and gentlemen
film
of the jury,
until that moment.
are we to believe this is supposed to be some sort of striped fly?
But they're being followed by Jason Mewes and his little gang, his brother, and they see Young Gu all over Nancy.
Yeah, Nancy is the daughter, in a way that makes it look like he's just right in broad daylight in the front seat of the car, just going at her. And this happens for about a second, and then one of the gangsters goes, "That's stamina," but like it makes you wonder what this guy's home life is like. He can barely keep it up for like a second,
Yeah. Two seconds of dry humping, and that's it. Apparently, that's stamina, guys. Am I right? What? No,
It's the 50s. But I wonder what it was like for the actress playing Nancy to have to play these romantic scenes with this bizarre character who's being played by a South Korean man who says he's in his 50s, but is possibly older, and who is also directing the scene. And it's just the romance between them is so completely.
I mean, at this point,
unbelievable.
with as an actor, you think you're making a film that's only going to be seen in Korea, so it's like one of those like I'm going to be the spokesperson, Ben Affleck.
but in English
We
language.
got some,
film.
Japanese cologne that you're going to be advertising. So they're just, I just don't understand. I think they did get actors that everybody needs to work.
Yeah.
And
Well, of course,
you get
a job
this
is a
offer.
job.
A job is a job. And you just sort of take the money and make out with a Korean guy. I mean, they didn't really.
Hump by Youngu. it's the old
Like, she's going
Hollywood adage.
Yeah,
She's
sure.
going through the script, and when I read exterior car, Nancy is humped by Young-gu. It didn't quite hit me physically what was going to happen in the scene. So okay, there's double crossing, triple crossing. Jason Mewes is on a rampage. He arranges it so it looks like Harvey Keitel kidnapped Nancy, leading to both sides of the mafia battle war.
Like a face-off.
Face off
In
the
the
same
middle of the
street.
street.
Tommy guns everywhere. Harvey Keitel and John Polito start to talk, say maybe this isn't the right thing to do, but Young-gu,
Guess whose gun goes off?
gun goes
All right.
off. Suddenly, it is an all-out shooting war, and people are dying.
Yeah.
Like this
At
is
the
not
end
a
of this
comedy
goofy
shootout.
comedy, like at least 20 people get shot to death.
And just in the street, and it's not like boing. It's not like one of those movies. Earlier in the movie, a bomb went off prematurely, and the guys that were in the explosion, they just have tattered clothes and like soot all over their faces, like it's a cartoon. But here, people are getting shot and falling off of fire escapes,
What?
like they're dying. There's
also the,
blood on their scalps.
Blake Clark, who's the cop, who you may have seen in like Adam Sandler uses him a lot because he's an old stand-up comic.
All right.
Is just showing up periodically, just to the point. I think at the second appearance, you forgot he was in the movie altogether.
He's like the police chief or something, or he's just a cop. And at first you're like, okay, the cops are gonna there's gonna be trouble when the cops try to catch Young-gu. No, they just show up every now and then and have like his car gets blown up, or like they run away from something, or
Yeah, and at the end they show up for one last time, and all the mafia, cock their guns and they run away, and that's the last we see of the cops.
I think they're trying to establish this is a city without law. Mm-hmm. This is what happens without a firm hand to keep the criminal element in check.
But the other thing about like all these people dying at the end of this movie is like, this is not a dark comedy. Like if this was like tonally,
This
if
should
this was
be
a
a
dark
family comedy.
I would laugh if like the hero accidentally sets off a bloodbath and then like, okay, this shocks me into laughter. No, this is like a goofy comedy with like,
Sure.
as you say, boing sound effects and stuff. And then at the end, it's like, well, okay, this guy caused everyone to die.
Yeah, he killed everyone, and Youngu was just left standing.
Yeah, that would be a
He's the last Godfather.
yeah. But no, he doesn't kill everybody.
Oh, I get
get
it.
it.
He saves Harvey Keitel's life, thus showing Harvey Keitel the error of his ways in having a gunfight. They call an end to the gunfight. Nancy shows up. She's been saved, and Harvey Keitel and John Polito were like, you're right, we shouldn't fight each other. We should work together like real mobsters do. And Jason Mewes is mad at Youngu and challenges him to a duel, I guess, like a face-off, except they're
5 feet away. Just
yeah, they're so close to each other. There's no way either one can miss when they shoot. And Jason Mewes, for it feels like about 30 minutes, twirls his gun on his fingers.
I still don't understand what that was.
And it's not, I mean, he clearly has not practiced this either. Like, he can twirl his gun on a finger as well as I would say the three of us can twirl
Not
his
as well,
gun.
I mean, not as well as Youngu, because Youngu tries it and he can't do it. But it's not like you and me, we're gonna shoot each other. Okay, let me do some gun tricks first.
And then Youngu tries to do the gun trick and shoves the gun right into his fly. So
Yeah.
that's classic Youngu, by the way.
There's a lot of bits in this movie that feel like
Classic
Youngu. He tries to pick up his hat, but he keeps kicking it by accident.
Yep.
He does a little dance, and then he falls over a trash can.
It's a movie built around settings where, like, so they go in. They're in the weight room at one point.
Yeah, weight room. There's a self-defense class.
The brazier stand is classic Youngu.
Yeah, classic Youngu. Youngu was this is my breakout movie. I'm doing all my
hits.
classic
This is
material.
time for the hits.
The best of Youngu, yeah. But then he says, okay, on the count of 5, we're gonna shoot each other, okay? So on the count of 5, and Youngu shoots him, and he goes, what did you do that for? You said 5.
You
I
say
said,
5.
I said count of 5. Bang, shoots him again. Why'd you do that?
You say 5.
I said count of 5.
No,
Shoots him
5.
a third time, and that's the end of the gunfight. And Jason Mewes has the best line of the whole movie, which is he's just lost everything. Everyone knows he betrayed his godfather. He's probably going to get killed. He's just been shot a couple times by Youngu, and he goes, he's so stupid. It's like at that
Thesis
point,
statement.
the movie is like, yeah, if you didn't get it by now, we're just going to say it. Youngu is stupid. Just in case there's anyone in the audience, look, we got to wrap this movie up. Just in case anyone did not get the point, let's just stop being subtle, okay? And everyone's happy. Youngu is going to be the new Godfather. The two crime bosses are going to divide up the city between them and be the Lords of Vice in New York.
You take the judges, I'll take the wharf. You take. They're divided. They literally are dividing at the
At
final
like a
scene.
garden party.
Yeah.
And but also as part of this, they've signed over their personal assets to Youngu, which makes no sense. And Youngu takes all that money and gives it to the orphanage, and then he and Nancy drive
The
off into
orphanage that
this.
is so wealthy they have relocated from Seoul, Korea.
They are an international. They're a global orphanage, but they don't have any money.
But then I also I love the last line in the movie, which is something like, oh, we're happy now, but not until my dad catches us, or something like
Then
that.
he goes, but when my dad catches us, and because that's the sound of putting your finger across your throat.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, Youngu, you're gonna get killed. But we didn't mention
man.
there's a lot of upsetting scenes in this.
Oh no, well we can circle back now that we've
okay.
kind of
But this
laid
is
out the.
this is a movie that you left the DVD case, Al, on my desk with a note saying, found this in a gas station. Enjoy. And from the cover, I was like, this is gonna be a stupid comedy. But I had no idea what a transcendently stupid comedy it was gonna be in terms of like at times. It felt like the movie was playing this triple game of okay, this is a really shitty comedy, but we know it's a shitty comedy and we're doing it on purpose, but maybe we don't, but we are. But it's possible we don't, but we do. But like I couldn't tell at any given point what anyone was thinking when they were making this.
At one point where Young-gu is drinking away his troubles, and the
he's at a whorehouse.
at a whorehouse, drinking, and really he starts with 2 or 3 beers, and then in couple cuts where 40 beers. So
the bar is covered in beer bottles, like all lined up, like it's ridiculous.
So he had no less than 40 beers.
Definitely no less than 40. Yeah.
So he goes over, and we think he's going to vomit, but Jason Mewes and his brother pop up
from behind a chair.
and then sneak out right behind Young-gu.
They're following him.
Young-gu rounds a corner. Now we're in an exterior shot, and they say, "There he goes."
As
Like they've been sticking it out from outside.
as if they were waiting for him and not in the building with him.
Usually inches behind him, sneaking out behind him.
They're gonna inject him with a poison, and they're maybe a foot behind Young-gu, talking normal conversational tones. Okay, jab him with this, and if you put all of it in, he's gonna die. And there are extras walking around, like just going about their day, coming home from work, I
Ladies
guess.
closing up the brassiere stand.
Yeah, and it's like nobody bats an eye at 2 men with a syringe in their hands talking about how they're gonna kill a guy who's right in front of them.
But also, when the guy is about to kill him, he every time he does it, he does the biggest wind up before putting it, and then he stopped because Young-gu, of course, looks around. But it's as if someone today was doing a parody of an Abbott and Costello routine, they would do that. They would do like, okay, I'm gonna do it right now in just another one.
Oh, okay, I just scratching my ear, nothing on here. Oh, right, just okay, gonna put it right in and. It is. These are not good gangsters. They're not good at what they do. But I would mention it's just there's something about Young-gu is the lovable hero, and in the course of this movie, we see him bully 3 shop owners with violence. He steals pennies from children.
That's true.
And threatens them with a gun. He tortures a man with a block of ice. He hits I don't know how many people with a baseball bat in the head, and also lifts up
maybe the worst choreographed scene of all time. This baseball
the slowest.
Yeah, just nothing. They couldn't even do anything to speed it up. They didn't rehearse. Everything is like one take in this film.
That take goes on a long time. This is the scene where he's supposed to be taught self-defense. So they're gonna go at him with baseball bats, and he's gonna defend himself. And yeah, they just end up hitting each other with baseball bats for a long time.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the scene where Young-gu saves.
Oh yeah, he hits a lot of people with baseball bats in that one too.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's another one, where it's like everyone's moving slow. It's like the whole thing was shot underwater. Like there's no urgency. Where's the urgency, Young-gu?
One thing I like about this movie is most comedies have like that,
logic.
Well,
some sense
that's
of
sort
reality?
of where I'm going with this. Like most comedies have some thin pretext for their comedy set piece. This movie takes away any motivation for like a comedy thing happening. Like when he's in the park, there's a scene, where Young-gu is sitting in the park, and then he looks over and there's a brassiere cart in the park. There's a for some reason in the park there's a cart selling ladies' undergarments, which he goes over and he's like, ooh,
he
looking
pokes
at
all the cups,
the bra,
every cup,
as if there might be a boob hidden in one.
Yeah,
and then he
finds a big bra at one point and goes, "Oh, too big."
And then he takes some undergarments,
like bloomers or something.
Yeah, bloomers, and he just puts them on. And there's no reason that he would do that.
He's curious. He's the eternal child.
It's going to make a funny fight scene for him to save Nancy.
Saves Nancy from a
when he has
kidnapper.
to fight, he does not have his full range of motion because he has bloomers half on and half off.
He also has a secret weapon, which I have to assume is a Young-gu trademark, which is that his shoes smell bad. And so he knocks people out with his smelly shoes. He wakes people up with his smelly shoes. Yeah.
They take life. They give life.
It is an elixir.
It's his superpower. He's the shoes.
And he never really makes great use of them, but those smelly shoes, they're in there. He does a lot of He just does dumb stuff.
Because he's so stupid.
He's so stupid.
Elliot,
It even has the thing. It has the type of thing where he's at a party and he falls asleep and dreams of dancing with Nancy, and when he wakes up, he's hugging like an ice bucket, like
The champagne, champagne holder.
Yeah, and it's like, oh boy.
Elliot, you were quite taken with just the way he walked in one scene.
There's a scene. There's a scene where he just goes to answer the phone, and he's just got this big grin on his face, and he's just jauntily walking up to the phone, swinging his arms back and forth like a cartoon mouse or something. Like it's just these things that he is
Yeah,
a
he might as
walking
well be
cartoon.
wearing shorts with great big buttons on them at that point.
But written by Young Ray
Shim.
Young Ray Shim, directed by Young Ray Shim, and starring Young Ray Shim as Young Goo.
I mean, you can't say that this wasn't his vision up there on screen.
It's all up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, budget for something like this,
I'll have to assume $400-500 million.
I think between 6 and 10.
I could see that, yeah. I think. Well, I mean, I assume it was funded with Korean money, that he could go to the people who usually make his movies.
But Lionsgate did the distribution.
Yeah.
They did appear to only have one city block that they could work with.
But that was a big set. Like they had.
Yeah, that's at Fox. I think they're using Fox or Universal for that.
Is that what have you seen those sets?
Yeah, there's a big New York street at Fox. I'm pretty sure that was Fox.
Is that a painted background?
They had a lot of just obviously painted backgrounds. It looked like this Kincaid, where it was. I've never seen, because usually they put them so far in the distance that maybe there's like
This is like a stage play.
Yeah.
Like these were just flats.
it really did look like it was some scenes were done on the stage. But they were,
But
so
it was like a cheap-looking, expensive-looking movie, or an expensive-looking cheap movie. You know.
I mean, the way it was lit at some points. I mean, when they were outside and how bright the actors were during the tomato scene.
Oh, the famous tomato scene. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is like Harvey Keitel's character is so much supposed to be Don Corleone, obviously. Like he dresses like him, his office looks like it, and so like, well, The Godfather had a scene where he's in a garden, so we're gonna have to put him in a garden. So they're just like
A container garden where they actually got. They rented this house with grounds, and I feel like they shot for 2 weeks and they spent $6 million, and maybe $3 million went to the actors because I gotta say, to get Keitel,
that's gonna cost money.
Yeah, I think he gets this offer, and it's for $1 million or $750 because he needs that name to sell this. If this is gonna be, but. I mean, maybe everybody else. I'm telling you, for Lies and Illusions, I was paid $5,000,
And that's for how many weeks' work?
I did. I worked for 3 weeks, and I flew back and forth from LA to Spokane.
Is that even like Actors Guild scale? I mean, what is that?
No, this is a non-union job. This was
this was a
off
scab
the
job.
books. Yeah, scab job.
They paid him in not even in cash.
They paid him in scabs.
They paid. Wow, that's disgusting. Just a briefcase full of scabs. They paid him in gift certificates. That's how off the books it was.
And but I had to think that Christian Slater was making $1 million or at least $500,000.
That's where all the money's going.
I know their budget for
Slater.
that was, I think it was about $4 million. And we, I mean, they had a crew that it looked. They definitely were on some sort of lot shooting. Those locations aren't cheap.
This looked like. I mean, it didn't look like an amateurish film. This one, it looked like a poorly made film, but like by professionals, you know.
And you're saying for 2 weeks it was the #1 movie in Korea?
Actually, yeah. This was the #1 movie in South Korea for 2 weeks. Let me pull up my Last Godfather facts here. I think, like I said, I think it's known as Dumb Mafia.
Elliot's logging into his Last Godfather app on his phone.
First 2 weeks of 2011. So the weekend of January 2nd, the weekend of January 9th of last year, #1 movie at the box office. This is other movies that were #1 at the box office. So Megamind, #1 at the box office in Korea for 1 week.
Wow.
You had 2 weeks of The Last Godfather, then 1 week of Megamind, 3 weeks of something called Detective K. Battle Los Angeles, #1 for 2 weeks. King's Speech, #1 for 1 week. So Last Godfather's hold on the Korean box office was longer than King's
Megamind?
Speech, Thor, Megamind, Fast Five. Of course, then there's Kung Fu Panda 2, which was number one for 4 weeks.
And is there a way to
bigger
go
hit than
some sort
Pirates
of
of the
like box office mojo type of thing and figure out what they did in terms of money on this thing?
Well, it says admissions, so I don't know if that's money or if it's ticket numbers. But this was not a direct to video in South Korea. This was a big hit. But I assume it's because that Young-gu name.
Well,
Like, people knew it was the new chapter in the
from what
Young-gu
I got
saga.
from the producers on this Lies and Illusion thing, that it's all about the foreign box office. And so when you name down to the name of our movie, they were very clever about that because they want to pick things that people can identify with and that'll translate well.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother was on a plane coming home from Mexico and was watching a guy watch Lies and Illusions in Spanish on his laptop. And he said, this guy, and then my brother, in Spanish, he goes, what do you think about that movie? Oh, it's very good. I love this movie. This is a good movie. So their standards are so low in other countries that something like Lies and Illusions is going to make money.
Yeah. And
Young-gu's going to be funny.
There's some movie, I remember reading about some movie that I think Jessica Simpson was in that was released like 2 years later on DVD here, but I think it was number one at the box office in like Belarus for a couple weeks. Like,
Crazy.
yeah, the standards in other countries are super low, which is crazy when you consider how low American standards are for number one box office movies. Like,
Sure.
a lot of shitty movies become number one at the box office, but in other countries, they're like, oh, beautiful, masterpiece. Oh, delicious.
Have you seen Fast Five?
I have not seen Fast Five.
Oh, that should be one on your list for sure. Is it not? It's too much production value?
No, I mean, we can do it. We do plenty of big movies.
Oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it really is bad.
Better or worse than The Last Godfather?
Oh, okay, come on. It's not fair.
Because The Last Godfather is so amazing? Or I don't know how this didn't... The only reason this didn't get nominated for Best Foreign Language Film at the Academy Awards is because it's not in a foreign language.
Now, I didn't mention the
He is
reason.
the Roberto Benigni of
South Korea.
South Korea.
The reason why I know about this movie is from a friend of mine, Ken Siegel, who was the sound guy on a TV show I did with Raquel Welch and Jeffrey Tambor called Welcome to the Captain. Stuart was Stuart on that.
No,
No,
I don't.
and
Stuart has far fewer failed pilots than you, too.
Yes, I've been in before going to the Daily Show. A couple series that didn't make it past a year, and Ken Siegel was the sound guy on two of those. Welcome to the Captain. This last one I did with Hank Azaria called Free Agents. But while I'm on Free Agents and getting mic'd up, Ken is like, I've got this movie. You got.
I know you're about to go to work,
Yeah.
but
But you got here, Young-gu here. He sets the whole thing up and says Young-gu.
Let me give you the story so far.
Yeah. So Young-gu.
you're going to be confused.
This is his love interest. This is the daughter from the rival mob boss. Yeah. They're going to an orphanage and watch Young-gu hand out women's clothing to the boys.
That's right. There's a scene where they because she's a charity person. She goes to the orphanage, and he goes with her, and he's got a box that just says like orphan donations on it or something like that, and he's handing out high-heeled shoes, a dress to the boys, and runs out of toys, so he starts giving his clothing to the kids, including the famous smelly shoes, which means you're then gifted with the image of Young-gu in just boxers and a bow tie, like with trying to
That's
cover
right.
himself with balloons because he's bashful. And
Giving a coy look as he puts a helium balloon in front of his crotch.
Nancy's reaction to this is like, oh, Young-gu,
Young-gu.
you're adorable.
Daddy, he's sweet.
You don't understand.
That's the thing.
don't want you hanging around with that Korean boy.
It's a good Polito.
Oh, thanks. He was in my voiceover agency. I used to see him all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. How you doing?
He lost a lot of weight at one point.
Yeah, you know what? He would bring. I think he'd bring his. Somebody would bring a kid in to the boy.
Toledo Polito.
Toledo, Polito. That's right. Hey, Toledo, sit right here. Don't make any noise. I'm gonna go do a couple spots. Okay, Dad.
It's the higher pitched, gravelly voice.
Okay, Dad. That's right, Toledo.
Kid really needs to stop smoking.
No, that's the Polito way.
So, Yeah, he Ken recommended this movie. He just this is dedicated to Ken Siegel. Ken Siegel, it turns out, sound guy in Reservoir Dogs. We just looked at it. Malcolm.
Yeah,
I know he
an
did Malcolm in the
amazing
Middle.
resume.
He did the entire run of Malcolm in the Middle. But I Love You, Man, and just recently the 5-Year Engagement.
Oh, so this is a guy who knows. So this is not like
Those movies.
he's not some guy from nowhere.
No, Ken
This is a
Siegel.
guy who found a place in his professional heart.
And I'm
for
going to send this to
The
Ken.
Last
Ken
Godfather.
would be so happy to hear that we're doing this. Yeah, it's-
You're spreading the gospel of The Last Godfather.
and Young Ray Shim.
and the genius that is Young Ray Shim,
So
who is very celebrated in South Korea. But I don't know. We're running.
We
long
should
now.
close the book on this. We usually close the bad movie discussion part by saying by our final judgments, saying whether this is a good bad movie, a bad movie, or a movie we actually kind of liked, and we just go around the horn. Elliot, what do you say?
Good bad movie. I gotta
Yeah?
say. And to the point that I kind of liked it because I could not understand what was like. It baffled me so much. But there's something about just taking a very rote, very rote, stupid comedy and dropping in a character who is totally
Just baffling.
just baffling and extreme. And I don't know what anyone was thinking. That I enjoyed it actually.
I thought it was going to be a bad movie, and I was thinking bad movie right up into the scene where, and I think this was a turning point for all of us, when young Goo changed the world.
when he brought about the modern
Course
age.
of history. Yeah, no, I agree. This is a
It was
good.
like suddenly it became an episode of Mad Men.
Yeah.
This is a good bad movie. This is a movie that, like, yeah, I straddle the line almost between kind of liking it too, because there's scenes where he busts out like such corny old,
he's
comedy
He's stealing
tropes.
material from like Buster Keaton.
Yeah.
Like
and he doesn't do it well per se, but the fact that he's trying at all, I just really appreciate.
I think it helps that I've never seen this guy in anything before, so I have to assume he's exactly like the character all the time, and he's just not even a character. Like he's just
He's bumbled his way
just
into
bumbled
a movie
his way
career.
to incredible success in the Korean film industry.
All right. Well, we're gonna skip over the mailbag for a week and just go quickly.
Oh, the house
man.
cat's cousin.
We're gonna quickly go to the recommendations, movies that we saw recently, or maybe not so recently, that we liked and would recommend in lieu of watching a bad movie.
I
Although
kind of want to
The Last
recommend The Last Godfather.
Godfather is pretty good. So quickly, if we have things, Elliot, do you have something you want to recommend?
Sure, I'll recommend. Speaking of bad movies, this is not a bad movie, but it's about bad movies. It's there's a documentary that Dan and I both watched recently, actually, that's on Netflix streaming at the moment called Popatopolis, which is about the director Jim Wynorski, who, if Roger Corman is the king of B movies, then Jim Wynorski is like a Grand Duke or maybe like a prince. He's directed a ton of really crappy or varying levels of crappy exploitation and B movies over the years.
I mean, he did direct Chopping Mall, which is pretty great.
Chopping Mall, which is a classic of B movies. He directed the Swamp Thing sequel. He directed a number of movies that are now shown late at night on Cinemax. And this is what this movie is about, which is he wants to make a movie in 3 days. This movie called The Witches of Brestwick, which is a softcore porn film. And he says,
Seen it.
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't seen that movie before I saw this one. But his goal is to make it in 3 days, and he and the actors are going to live at a cabin together, the same cabin they're going to shoot the movie in, and they're going to shoot the film and finish all shooting in 3 days, and then he's going to sell this movie to cable. And it's kind of about the compromises he has to make now in terms of working faster and cheaper than he ever did before, and more sex-based to get his movies sold and to make them, and kind of the demise of the B-movie industry, where you don't have this world now where you can do kind of a low-budget movie with maybe a slumming star and expect it to play in theaters and make a little bit of money back or make a lot of money back. Now you basically have a huge movie of, like $5 million or $10 million or up to 200, or you have these tiny budget movies for like $100,000 that are more and more just pornography. And it's a really interesting movie, and there's some interesting scenes in it about people shooting a movie in very close quarters in a very quick schedule. And there's a lot of women in it with big boobs because the movie they're making has a ton of big boob women in it. That's Wynorski's trademark now, is just women with big boobs.
Yep.
And he says in the movie, these are my two things in the movie: a big chase and a big chest. And this movie that they're making does not have a chase in it. So I think he goes
Double
overboard
down on
with
the
chest.
chest.
Exactly. Double D on the chest.
I'm not sure. It's going to be a while for me to come. It took a while for this to happen, for me to come on, and it took Stuart to go to Puerto Rico. I'm going to tell two stories.
You didn't even
just
think that Al deported Stuart.
real
Getting
quick.
on that plane.
Two tickets showed up at his door. He opened up his mail. Puerto Rico. Hey, honey.
We love Puerto Rico.
Did you enter the Madrigal sweepstakes?
What is this? So me and my wife, not B movie, but my wife on our first date, I knew I was going to marry her because I said, she said, who's your favorite actor? I said, who's your favorite actor? And she said, Bruce Campbell.
Nice.
So knew I was going to marry this woman, and I really did know at that moment. And then I had another one. I'm sorry, I got so.
I assume the other story is about you
so
masturbating
overcome.
to Witches of Breastwick.
No, but it is. Thank you for reminding me. Then I see Witches of Breastwick, and I had an affair with, the blonde witch. The whole point I wanted to make is that with these movies, there's so many scripts out there and so many people that aren't working. Me and my friend had an idea that we were just going to make a movie, but we were going to cast and the whole thing and get our director from Craigslist. So I started placing Craigslist ads for directors and other things. So I did this thing with Rainn Wilson where we found a location and it was a porn star's mansion in Encino, California, but we found it for $250 a day, which is crazy cheap. She needed money, and so we had this.
I think a porn star who's trying to keep up a mansion, need money.
You're gonna need money bad. So, and then it led us to going on Craigslist and placing all kinds of ads for directors. It was taken down within a half hour, but in that half hour, I got 30 different resumes from directors that were capable of directing a movie. I got offers from guys with grip trucks saying, if you put me in your movie, I'll let you use my grip truck. So we got all of these different resumes and everything from Craigslist. So it was our idea that we could make a Craigslist movie and get the screenplay from Craigslist, the locations from Craigslist, all of the actors from Craigslist, and just completely make this Craigslist movie, which I'm trying to do with. I now know this guy who works at Starz, and so I want to film a documentary. I want to film this movie being made, but made entirely from internet. Like the best person we could find for the least amount of money.
That's the greatest idea.
And the way the government would do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I am trying to do this, but these resumes were amazing. First unit director on Michael Bay film, the what did he do with Ben Affleck? Pearl Harbor. There was a guy that came in, one of Pearl Harbor.
So someone who's used to working with big productions.
And that could potentially do this, to just have been in these underling roles the entire time. So, and that's
You're
my
really
idea.
taking advantage of the slump that the film industry is in.
Anyway, so I just wanted that can be done. I'm trying to do this. So I know you guys donate to the podcast, but if you want to donate to this movie effort, wow.
Don't pander to them. You're pandering to the listeners.
That's it. I just I know I'll never be on again.
No. Just keep sending Stuart to Puerto Rico.
That's your recommendation, though? Your Craigslist movie? Or?
Oh, yeah.
You recommended a movie that doesn't exist.
I recommend making my movie. My recommendation is I just saw The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah.
and which we were talking about. But I liked it quite a bit. I thought that was. I didn't have any desire to see that when it came out in the theaters, but you saw it right away, and you were disappointed with everybody
He
I
else.
was
saw it a
there.
little
He saw
late.
it midnight.
No, I actually saw it a
Thursday
little
night
late.
of opening.
But we talked about this on the podcast once. Like, it's weird. Like that was, they tried to make that counter programming. Like, they had that come out around Christmas, and that was not a good idea.
It's
Like,
a family movie.
They thought it'd be clever to, like, okay, we're gonna have an alternative to, you know, the usual stuff that comes out of Christmas. And the thing is, people like the usual stuff that comes out of Christmas. They
Sure.
schedule that for a reason.
Yeah.
My kid's favorite movie, and this, if you have kids out there, my kids love Clifford with Martin Short so much.
I know people who are diehards.
Now,
for
you
that
have
movie.
not seen this? Or?
No, it's a movie that I haven't seen, but I have a friend of mine, my friend Dan Brooks, has been trying to get me to see it for a while now.
It's awesome.
He's just insane about it.
And I guess that was a flop, and that became this sort
I remember
cult.
when it came out, it was like I remember when that movie came out, and Martin Short was on Letterman's show, and Letterman was like, "Clifford, it's a great movie. Saw it last night, great." And I think it was the first time I realized he didn't see that movie. Like, the hosts of these shows don't see the
He
movies
did
they're
see the
talking
movie,
about.
and it's awesome. It really is good. So if people haven't seen it in a while, or they haven't seen it at all, you've got to find Clifford.
So Clifford, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and your Craigslist movie.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Craigslist the movie.
And I guess honestly, if Elliot hadn't recommended it, I might have recommended Papadopoulos.
Oh,
but
I
I
can
also
recommend a different one if
No,
you
no,
want to
no, no,
recommend
I,
Papadopoulos.
I went out and I
Today
saw Cabin in the Woods, like a lot of our listeners probably did, and I really enjoyed it.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm not into cabin movies.
Sure.
I like the woods part.
Right. I don't believe that for a second. But I'm a fan of Joss Whedon in general, but this movie also, I just think, really plays very well to all types of audiences. My wife saw it with me, and she doesn't necessarily love horror movies the way I do, although she does have a strange fondness for Piranha 3D, like Elliot and I do. But
Saw it on my wedding day.
yeah, it was great. The worst I could say about it would be that because it is such a sort of a deconstruction of horror movies, you don't necessarily get super emotionally involved with the characters, but it's very clever and very funny. And we were talking about on the subway over here on the subway. You know, Frank Kranz, who's in the movie.
Who I worked with in Welcome to the Captain, where Ken Siegel did the sound.
It's like
Wow.
6
Yeah,
degrees
all it comes
of
to-
Al Madrigal.
But he's amazing in the
6
movie.
degrees of Ken Siegel.
And he's currently working on Death of a Salesman,
Oh, really?
and might come by the show and say hi. And
Oh,
so
cool.
you're
I've
gonna
got
be.
tickets to that.
Oh, really?
I'm going to see the final performance of it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, he was terrific, and I was saying that I really loved him also on Dollhouse as Topher. He's
Topher
very
Grace?
funny. Yes, Topher Grace.
He was playing,
He was playing the actor Topher Grace on the.
or was he playing Dave Eggers' younger brother Topher
Yes,
from A Heartbreaking
Toph.
Work of Staggering Genius?
he was playing all Tophers everywhere.
I was going to say, when you said Joss Whedon, it sounded like you said Jaws Whedon. And I imagined Joss Whedon with metal teeth. Just directing movies and then biting down on pipes.
I think that's a pretty amazing image to wrap the show up on. So unless you gentlemen have anything else, we should say. We should reveal.
Oh, should we reveal what the movie is going to be?
Yeah, we did not do the trail of clues about what our live Flophouse movie would be because
Look,
we forgot.
we're lazy and forgetful.
Well, the last episode was our 100th episode, and in the excitement of Tango and Cash, we forgot to leave another true.
In the excitement of Tango
another
Cash
clue.
and the tiredness of us being tired.
But
June 8th,
June 8th,
Friday, June 8th, 8 p.m.,
92Y Tribeca. The website has already spilled the beans.
we're going to be having our third Flophouse I Love Bad Movies Bad Movie screening.
Live event.
Live event, running commentary by the Floppers, us, and
No Stewart. I will be there in his
Wow.
place.
Wow.
you have really, this is a real All About Eve situation. But the movie we're going to be showing is Quiet Cool, starring James Remar. This is an early 80s James Remar action, I'm going to say classic,
Okay.
about a New York City cop who plays by his own rules, who has to head out to the Pacific Northwest to stop some murderous pot growers. The pot grower henchmen all have different haircuts, And there's an opening scene for James Remar that involves a chase between a purse snatcher on roller skates and James Remar riding a motorcycle. And it's pretty awesome.
And speaking of murder, there's a very good chance that I die leaving Dan's sketchy apartment.
That's possible too.
We should wrap this up so Al doesn't get stabbed on the way out.
But quite cool. June 8th.
For the Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
I'm Elliot Kalin.
And I'm
Al Madrigal.
Al Madrigal.
Did you forget?
No, I wanted to do the cat thing.
Oh, you can do it one more last time if you want.
Just don't let Stuart know.
This is our secret.
Good night.
No, just a sad one. I'm never going to do it again.
Oh. The House Cat's brother is here. The House Cat's cousin.
Stuart is going to be so mad.
Is he? Well, maybe you should have shown up.
Yeah, he's very rather than going to Puerto Rico with his wife.
Yeah.